Okay, now where were we? Yes, let's look at what's going on with Nvidia. I think their information comes out later. It already comes out at 4:20. Oh, okay. I'm not gonna wait around for that. All right, so we kind of moved significantly lower than the market makers expected range on the intraday here. Came down, tested monthly GN, got a pretty strong bump off of that, but we did end up closing or weekly GN. We did end up closing below the monthly GN at the end of the day, and pretty much right at the market maker's expected move, maybe a little lower, like 4 bips lower. So, obviously a bit of a bearish day, definitely a big increase in volatility. Part of that's GDP tomorrow. A lot of that's Salesforce, CrowdStrike, and NVIDIA earnings that are all tonight. So those will all have pretty big effect. Obviously, we may see very large overnight moves going into tomorrow. This could be tomorrow morning. This could be pretty bearish or possibly bullish. ES broke down and tested the long-term trend, bounced off of it, retested 5620, and ended up closing kind of, well, end of day at right around 5600. Commodities moved down again. Another drop in oil. So 2 days of decline after its big bull run due to the cutoff of oil out of Libya that was on Monday. Precious metals also down. Gold not getting hit nearly as much as silver and copper. It looks like agricultural commodities are keeping things propped up a little bit. The dollar up very sharply today. Really not sure on what. There wasn't really any significant news this morning that would have driven that kind of response. I think M3 money supply was up a little bit, so that might have had some effect. Gilt auction wasn't particularly favorable, but mostly up against well, everything. I guess not so much up against the yuan, but up quite a bit against the yen, euro, and pound. If tomorrow's GDP data is good, the market double bottom on the dollar, and we may see the dollar start to climb back up alongside the top end of the yield curve. Correlation spent most of the day breaking down. We did get a little bit of a reversal in it on that big bounce from 5560 back up to 5600. However, it then broke down again and did not recover into the end of the day. That's true for both the 1 and 3 month. Carry trade levered up pretty hard on the 10-year, but not so much on the 3 and 6 month. A little bit more on the 6 month than the 3 month. So they're still levering up the back end of the trade, which would assume that they expect the dollar to rise and yields at the top end of the curve to come up on U.S. Treasuries. Forward yield on volatility ended the day at 3.01 with a peak of 6.03. So very briefly there, we got above that federal funds rate. We saw the reaction to that, right? Bond volatility not really moving much. Skew still some tail risk pulling back, tail risk hedging pulling back, which means that funds are getting more exposed to a tail risk event. 88.27% of the S&P over its 20-day moving average, which isn't much change over the last like 5 days. And correlation between VIX contract or VX contract in front and cash VIX at 96.48. So the spread is still widening a bit there, but not very much, and they're staying highly correlated. Fed fund futures pricing in 0.91 points of rate cuts into January of 2025. Where does this put us? Well, from a technical perspective, not in the best place. We have failed to regain the all-time high. This is obviously topping out. We got an equivalent low today or a lower low. 56. Nope. We got the exact same to the penny low today that we had last Thursday. If the bounce off of this fails to regain the trend, actually, probably if it fails to regain 5608, it's pretty bearish. And Another loss of 55.70 could mark a breakdown, where a continuation would be realized at 54.46. So, yeah, we may be getting a top here, and if this is a top, well, that would be really interesting because that would make this a bear rally and not a bull run. So we'll see what happens. Still have to see what goes down with GDP, obviously, and Nvidia earnings tonight. CrowdStrike is up, of course it is. How's Salesforce doing? Salesforce is important. Kind of flat, and Nvidia is undecided. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, yeah, these will play a big role, but unless Nvidia beats substantially, I still think GDP is going to be significantly more important. Good night, Grim 2. All right, later, guys.